Just some things to consider. Ask yourself really, are your deepest desires, or even not so deep, but the desires you hold right now, are they truly aligned with your own personal highest good? How can you feel deeply without being completely consumed by your desires? Are you mistaking intensity for clarity? Because that's what can happen
Mm,
is like it feels so strongly that you want to like shiny object go off in that direction, which I can definitely relate to.
mhm.
Is that really the best? Are you going to feel that way tomorrow? Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, your human design guide.
And I'm Haley, on this journey with you to uncover the power of human design.
Together, we're here to explore how embracing your authentic self is the ultimate path to a life of more freedom and fulfillment.
Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Well, hello there, Haley. How you doing?
Hi, good, good,
Good.
good.
Every time I say hello, I think about how I've just somehow managed to always say the same thing every time. It's, well, hello there, Haley. How you doing?
I
That's
always
my
respond good, 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 good.
my signature open, you might call it.
Yes. Mhm.
Good to see you. You can, if you're watching us either on Substack or over on the YouTube with the video, you can see we are fully in winter. I was telling Haley before we jumped on how I bought this Columbia fleece jacket to wear outside for last winter when we were going to go to Colorado, when we did go to Colorado. And I don't think I took it with me. And I put it on like a week ago and I barely have taken it off. And I'm in my house all the time. It is so cold in my house. The older home. We did a thermometer check this morning out in the living room. It was 63 degrees, but here in my office where I get all that nice warm sun in the morning, it was 67, so that felt much better.
Mm, that
But
is a warm room.
it is. I know you don't like it when you stay here, but
Well, if I had a ceiling fan, we would be a-okay.
yeah. Well,
It's
I
if
got a
I can
fan.
get that, I know, but it doesn't. We put it in a different spot this time when we were there. To be
Mhm.
fair, normally I have it like towards the foot of my, well, towards if Presley's there,
Mhm.
so I'm not freezing him, but it's like at the foot of our beds.
Mhm.
But then this time I had it at the head of the beds,
Mhm.
so it was like blowing. I could feel it more on my head, and it worked better.
Okay. Glad good to know.
In case anyone was wondering.
Yeah, just talking about
Hmm.
this fine
Yeah.
day bed here behind me. This is my guest room slash office, as I'm sure many
Yes.
people work from home have the same type of
Hmm. Hmm.
situation.
Yes.
Well, anyways,
No.
what were you gonna say something?
No.
Oh. But anyways, here we are. It's still winter time, and we're getting ready here now for another transit episode already.
Hmm.
Again,
I know.
it's
Crazy.
February. Yeah, moving into February. It's a short month, and so I thought, oh, I'm going to have a few games to talk about. No, I still have we still have 5 transits this month, so we should probably get into it. I'm not trying to do a super long chit chat today, but
Hmm.
before we do, I just want to remind you that as you're listening, because we are going to go through the sun and earth energies for this month, because the sun is moving through a new gate in the Human Design Mandala roughly every 6 days. And so if you haven't already, I want to remind you that you can go get your copy of the Human Design Guidebook, which is available on my website. It's also in the show notes. And a little update there is I sent this out to my list the other day that I've decided to do a price adjustment on the guidebook. It's $47 because I want to make that more accessible to people because I really find it's incredibly valuable. The
Hmm.
feedback I've gotten is that it's been helping people really kind of see things in a new way on their design, kind of illuminating certain aspects of their design for them. And that is the idea that it's the go-to resource you can have for yourself that you can keep referring back to time and time again because it's a at least I would say most of them are at least over 55 pages
Hmm.
completely customized to
Hmm.
your unique human design, covering all aspects of your design down to every single gate that you have, and really just especially as we're doing these transit episodes, it's helpful because you'll get to hear a little bit more about specific gates and their energies. And even if it's not your sun gate, you might have these gates defined somewhere in your chart. So it can kind of give you a little perspective on how that plays out in your design. So go ahead
Mhm,
and make sure you check that out. Like I said, it's in the show
mhm,
notes, but we should
mhm.
probably get started.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I think I probably know the answer, but so you said the sun moves through a gate roughly moves through a gate roughly takes 6 days.
6, yeah.
So since the Earth is a programming partner, does that mean it also goes through in roughly 6 days?
Well, yeah, because they're moving the way it's plotted on the chart, they are direct opposites from each other on the
Hmm.
wheel. So as one moves, the other one's moving at the same time.
So are they always going to be, if it's like gate 62 in the first line for the sun, is it
Hmm.
always going to be in the first line of its programming partner at the same time?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Makes sense.
Which you would know that, or you would see that pattern if you think about the incarnation cross, because it's the sun and earth gates on
Mhm.
both sides of your chart. And when you look at it, you'll see they're always in the same line. So I'm 14
Yes,
line
I do see
4.
that on
Yeah.
my chart.
Yeah, I'm 14 line 4 in the sun, 8 line 4 in the earth. The only other place that happens in the chart is in the north and south nodes of the moon. You'll see that same progression for the north and the south. They will be moving as programming partners, and they'll always be in the same line as well because they're moving opposite. So, yes, everything else in the chart though is because really the in a astrological chart, like just astrology, they're not really tracking earth placements so much, but
Mhm.
in human design we do because of the neutrinos, because they're like coming and moving through the earth as well. So it's another one of the astral bodies that the neutrinos move through and inform us, and of course it's our point in the cosmos, so it's definitely included there.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, side note, I don't think when you run somebody's astrology chart it doesn't have an earth placement. I think it just has
Mm.
a.
Talk about the moon, maybe?
Oh, they do, yeah, they talk about all the other planets, but
They're like,
I
Earth, nah.
have to look at that. But anyways, so yeah, for all the other planet placements in the chart, there's not going to be a direct correlation. But each gate or gene key, which is something we're going to also introduce a little bit more in our transits now, because we're talking about programming partners, which
Mhm,
is really a term that I first learned about through the gene keys with Richard Rudd, talking about how these, what he calls keys, what we call gates, how they kind of work together since they're always in opposition to each other on the wheel. There is this kind of tension and relation between these gates. And so that's why we've decided to start looking at those, because we did a whole year of transits last year just on the sun.
mhm.
And now we're going to add in the earth maybe as we go along. In 12 years, I might be
We were to all of them.
I'll be able to talk to you about every single transit. I
Well, some of those, the bigger planets, it'd be a lot of repeating each month.
Yeah, it is a lot of repeat, and it does. But I think when they do other transit other people that do transit episodes in human design, there's lots of people that do them, like podcasts or even just in
Mhm,
written form or whatever. It is a lot of astrology based, those transits, because like you said, for a lot of those outer planets, there's it'll stay in a certain sign or a certain for a while.
mhm,
What changes is really the position uh, of each planet to each other, what they call a conjunction or a opposition or all those things, which I am not a master in. But I have found the work of one lady, and I can't remember her name right now, but she works in human design and astrology. But she was like, she's been doing this human design for a long time and astrology. So she
mm,
has a couple books I'm thinking about picking those up and putting those in my toolkit, see if I can learn more astrology.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, people talk human design is complicated, but I think astrology is like really a lot. But anyway, so let's move on.
What does February look like?
What does February look like? Okay. February is starting right out the gate. On the 1st of February, we're going to be moving
Mm,
into the sun's going to be moving into gate 13, which is the listener. And the earth is going to be then in gate 7, which is known as the role of the self.
mm. I
So,
like an orderly month. New gate starts on the 1st.
yeah, right? Pretty close to. So, as I said, so first of all, let's look at gate 13, the listener.
Mhm,
It's located in the G center. In traditional human design, it's called the listener. In the I Ching, it is referred to as the fellowship of man.
mm,
And in quantum human design, she calls it narrative. This is where we're going to introduce a little bit also about the gene keys, because what I like about the gene keys is it looks at these in that shadow, gift, and what he calls SIDDHI frequency, meaning like shadow, gift, and then like the highest expression.
mhm,
And so when we're talking about these programming partners, really these shadows and gifts, this is where you can really see the connections between them. Um, and also, especially when you're new to human design or you're new to working with a lot of these themes and these archetypal type things, we're more familiar a lot of times with the shadow part of it in ourselves than we are with the more gift frequency. So I think when you're looking at the gates, it's like it it shows I think when I'm like when I can read something and the shadow part of it, you're like, oh yeah, you feel a little called out. I think that
mhm,
also helps to know that then the gift frequency is also a part of you and possible, and it's something that will naturally start to emanate when you are aware of the shadows and integrate these parts of yourself. It can all start to, so like when you know one thing feels true, you know that the other part of it can be true as well. Does that make sense?
mhm.
Like it gives
Yeah,
you something to kind of reach for, I guess.
right, yeah.
So the shadow frequency for gate 13 is discord, which is like a feeling of being disconnected or isolated.
Mm.
And then
And
mhm,
13 is
the
what the sun is
listener.
in?
Yes, the listener.
Okay. Mhm,
And the gift frequency is empathy. So it's as we get into what the themes are there, it's the what it's talking about there is it's creating space for stories to unfold because that's what the listener is about. It's in the G Center, but it's in collective circuitry. It's connected to gate 33, and that channels the prodigal. The theme here really is about what do we know about collective circuitry, abstract collective circuitry. What's that about? Starts up there in your favorite head gate 64.
Which one is, is that the
And
logic one?
it's no, it's the other
To
one.
understand,
Yeah.
abstract. I mean, collective, it's all about, obviously, it's the larger group,
Hmm.
the masses.
And that
Mm,
that stream of energy, that circuitry that's running through there is about experience, and
right.
it's about gaining understanding through experience. And so gate 13 really has the natural ability to listen deeply and hold space for people. It hears the stories, and it's an accumulation of wisdom over time through hearing others' experiences, or even it 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 does talk about more collecting others' stories, listening to them, but it also applies to yourself as well, like your understanding of your own experience. There's themes of like understanding timing and when to share those
Mm,
insights, as
mm,
we know. And this gate has a role in kind of being a bridge between that past experience and future potential, because that's what we do with stories and experience. Because we were talking about it before we got on here. You're like, we like to hear other people's stories. We learn through people's stories or sharing our own stories, that, which was a good thing for you to say to me and for me to
Mhm.
hear, was that it's not always just the knowledge. It's like the experience is what
Mhm.
really helps drive it home sometimes for people. And it's also, like I said, she quantum human design calls it the narrative. It's the power of intentional storytelling, because
Mhm.
uh, Karen Curry Parker is very heavy on this narrative and how what human design can really, the power of knowing your human design can help you shift your own personal narrative. Because if you've been operating out of a conditioned state or not self state, you have the power to turn that around for your own narrative. Right.
Mhm.
And so we'll do this a little bit differently this time. I think last time we're going to try and balance it out a little bit more with both energies in here.
Mhm.
So with gate 7, which is also in the G center, it's actually on the other side. If you look at it,
Oh,
you see 13, you
interesting.
see 7.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's going to be in that logical circuitry, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
it is understanding through logical processes.
Mhm.
And like I said, it's called the role of the self. In the I Ching, it's called the army, which is a lot of times what I think of it more of is the army, the name. Some of these names sometimes I flip back and forth between one or the other, which
I
makes
mean,
sense.
you've got 3 different system names in your head, so
There's people making up some all the time. Um, and then, yeah, quantum, she calls it collaboration. So the shadow frequency there is division, which is trying to like
Mhm.
control or manipulate outcomes. The gift frequency is guidance, being able to organize people and collective energy towards a shared vision.
Mhm.
So the themes in this one, because it's in that channel with 31 in the throat, we talk about a lot about there is leadership energy here. It's called the army. And the army, if you think about it, is a, a collective group of people. It is the strength of an army is in its people, and its
Mhm.
leadership around a shared or um, goal type of thing. And
Mhm.
so we talk about this where democracy lives in this channel, having a voice for the people. And so the themes there are more geared towards supporting and influencing, like behind the scenes, not necessarily the face, the alpha type thing, but more of
Mhm.
the power behind the throne type of thing. As I said, it's like an army as a shared direction type of thing. So it's helping create community there. Uh, this themes here are understanding patterns, future trajectories. There's a lot of pattern recognition within the logical circuitry there.
Mhm.
And also so like natural leadership without needing the spotlight. Okay. So when we look at programming partners, how these two can work together, there's this partnership between the gate 13, which is like receiving the wisdom, and then the gate 7 and knowing how to take that, direct it for collective benefit. Now mind you, these aren't in the channels together, but
Mhm.
these are kind of how these energies play off of each other in a way.
Mhm.
Gate 13 like collects the wisdom, gate 7 channels that wisdom to where it can nourish the whole community.
Okay.
So during this transit, when they're working together, we could all be experiencing this connection, this interplay, this dance between like deep listening and then like more strategic guidance, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So one reason looking at programming partners is because when if you think about this tension between them, there's also there's a push pull, and there's also like if you feel imbalanced in one direction, if you kind of help shift your focus in the other direction and help bring it back into balance, like how to focus on supporting gate 13's energy through gate 7, because Gate 7 at this point is in the earth position, which is the grounded position. They call it. It's your grounding.
Mhm.
It's the ground beneath your feet. It's what you stand on. It's got to be like strong and sturdy in place in order for the sun energy to shine a little bit brighter.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So, imbalances in gate 13, what that could look like maybe when you're feeling a little low, we were talking about how the shadow is that, what did I
Discord.
call it? Discord. Right.
Mhm.
So, that could look like, since this is the listener, you think about, well, yeah, if you have this gate, people tend to come to you and share things with you. It's just a natural process. You're the person that people just like walk up to you and start sharing their stories. That can be a little overwhelming. You could feel a little
Mhm.
overwhelming by too much emotional sharing, especially the kind of environment we're in these days. Everybody's a little bit stressed and emotions are a little bit high. You
I know.
could start to feel a little overwhelmed. Hmm?
No, I was just I went to the post office twice. No,
Mm-hmm.
I did go to the post office twice today, there
Mm-hmm.
this week.
Mm-hmm.
But I also went to the like Colorado, technically the clerk and recorder, but I was doing something with my vehicle title, and I just could overhear. This is more related to you saying, the tension everyone's in this
Mm-hmm.
week or this part of the year, whatever. There was an old guy who was trying to do something, and the lady's like, "No, I need an updated doctor's note before I can do anything for you." And he's like, "Well, I can promise you nothing's changed on it." She's like, "I understand, but I need an updated thing." And he was getting all frustrated. And then as he was walking away, some other person asked him, and he's like, "Yeah, it's just a bunch of bullshit here," I think is what he said. And then I was like, "Jeez, people." And then at the post office, it was something similar, like some same kind of situation. Like one guy was getting frustrated, someone else asked him, and he almost had the exact response. He's like, "There's just a bunch of bullshit here," and I'm like, "Come on, people. They are people."
They're just doing a jobs
Yeah,
sometimes.
but
Yeah. Emotions are
yeah.
high.
Hmm. Anyways.
Well, anyways, full sharing. Okay, so back to imbalances. You
Hmm.
could feel that emotional sharing. You could be struggling maybe with maintaining boundaries with people. Maybe you might feel tempted to share stories that maybe aren't yours to share. Try
Hmm.
not to do that. That's a hard one. Maybe difficulty processing what you've heard or trying to make sense of it, because there is this um imperative within that channel there of wanting to make meaning and quickly. But sometimes throughout that whole channel, what it's about is taking time to sit with it and process it, because you can't
Hmm.
gain it overnight. And so you might feel pressure to give that immediate feedback or advice. And so some guidelines around working with that gate 13 specifically energy, some practices you could put into place would be like, this is an hard one, this is a hard one, but I think it's one of the most important things anybody can do is creating intentional pauses when listening. I've learned so much from projectors about how, like you and other people that I'm close with that are projectors, how I always like wonder if I've lost your attention or if you're like glazed over because you guys are just listening to me. How many of us don't listen actively? And I've seen it over and over again. People that are projectors tend to take that pause before they respond. I admire that because I don't always do that. And so it's really good to create those intentional pauses in listening so that you don't immediately jump into that feedback. Like maybe just take in what you're hearing. Um, Journaling out your thoughts about things instead of trying to like verbally process them or tell everybody what you're thinking right away. Really, really getting clear on if the experiences or the stories that you're hearing about are things that you're here to actually share, or if it's just informing, a broader view kind of thing. Um, Notice when you're listening to fix people versus listening to understand them. That's a big difference as well.
Mm.
And just trust in the timing of wisdom emerging in its own time. And so that's working specifically with gate 13. Um, gate 7, if you're feeling the pressure there a little bit, what it could look like when it's unbalanced, or maybe creeping into those more shadow frequencies, feeling like unrecognized for the work that you do, a little frustrated,
Mhm.
possibly behind the scenes, like you're not getting the credit for things, trying to control outcomes instead of guiding processes, maybe trying to influence a little bit more by overstepping where you should be. These are just kind of behaviors.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of just not really naturally trusting the unfolding of things, which is, I think, a theme in everything
Yeah.
in human design. Um, and so when you're feeling that imbalance, to step back and remember to reconnect with yourself as being that advisor type position, or you're here to help, not necessarily be in the forefront of the ideas, but you're here to help bring the wisdom of others forward to help
Mhm.
direct everyone, if that makes sense. And just kind of notice when your ego is driving your need for recognition. Things to consider during this month when we're thinking about these gates working together, maybe what stories or what wisdom, what knowledge am I gathering that could help influence positive change? Am I rushing through things trying to force this understanding or this wisdom?
Mhm.
How can you hold space for kind of receiving and also taking aligned action? Yeah, okay. So, and one thing I was looking at in this relationship between these gates, or especially like these hexagrams in the I Ching, is that it said, like, in a lot of cultures, the storyteller, which would be gate 13, and the like tribal and the tribal elder or advisor, gate 7 position, they often worked in tandem
Mhm.
to preserve wisdom and guide leadership. And it also talked about this relationship having roots also in some of the Chinese tea ceremonies, where the art of listening was considered very sacred. And so there were roles created for those who could, like, hold space for others while for
Mm.
holding other stories while serving tea. That there was this sacredness in this combination of active listening and subtle guidance. So
Hmm.
just a little tidbit.
Oh,
Me. I
interesting.
didn't get into it too deep, so I hope that holds true. So an example of these energies playing out together, like what this could look like in real life, would be
Mhm.
like, say you have a friend that is confiding in you about some shit going on in her relationship or whatever. We've all we've all had that.
Mhm.
This happens to me all the time. I actually do have people that come to me all the time with their problems, and I'm not talking about professionally. I'm just talking about personally. And I do not have this gate defined, but the tendency is to want to rush to fix things, right? To help them, because sometimes it can feel really heavy and you just want to make them feel better, right? And so you're
Mhm.
always trying to take this story and what they're telling you and try to jump right into fixing the situation or taking control for their healing next step.
Mhm.
But what this is suggesting here, that a more balanced approach here would be to be more present with their experience and not just rush to solve their problem, and just trust that in just listening to them is a way of helping to heal them, and eventually you will be able to maybe help guide them to next steps when they're ready. But I'm guilty of this, of just trying to, like, jump in and fix
Mhm. That's 100% my husband every time I come to
every
him.
time.
I'm
So
like,
just think
"No,
about
I'm just in a mood."
just think about that at the beginning of February, if you're feeling that need to just, oh, remember, take a step back and just listen. All right, so let's move on to our next pairing, our next transit here on around the 7th of February. Moving into, the sun's going to be in gate 49, gate of principles. And the Earth is going to be in gate 4, which
I have another question that it's just occurred to me. When we're when you talk about when you talk about the gate or the sun's moving into this gate, we're primarily focusing on like the conscious side?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just the conscious side. Because that's in the present collective moment. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, because the design side is what happened 3 months ago, basically.
That makes sense.
So we are just talking about the current transit. Yes. So gate 4, gate of answers. So gate 49, like I said, principles. It's also referred to in the I Ching as gate of revolution. And in quantum, she calls it the catalyst. It's also located, not also, it is located in the solar plexus center. So and it's an emotional energy there.
Mm-hmm.
And in the gene keys, the shadow frequency is rejection or the fear of being cast out because of your principles, right? Of what you can and can't change about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the gift frequency is then also revolution. And
Mm.
that's referred to as transformation through principled action. So, as we know in our family, we have 100 people born on February 8th. So,
Look, we
quite a
might be adding
handful.
one more with Andrew and Megan.
I know we have another potential family member on the way. Could be born on that day. We hope not, but um yes, we have, my
Four.
mother, our niece Lakeland, well, your cousin Lakeland, our bonus son slash brother Hunter, your uncle Steve, my
Mhm.
brother-in-law. I feel like there's missing one.
I think it's just the four.
Just the four. Huh.
I think
Okay.
so.
Well, all born under this gate. And so, anyways, the I went through the ones for gate 49 there. Yes. And so the key themes here with that gate 49 is about understanding emotional needs, material needs, community needs, because it is in tribal circuitry there. It connects to gate 19 in the root center. The
Hmm.
channel is synthesis, and it's about the whole theme there is around emotional sensitivity. And like I said, understanding the needs of your community. It's there's a theme
Is that
about
is that the one where it's like kind of very black and white? Relationships are very black and white.
yeah,
Hmm.
the themes there. It's about fair distribution of resources because when you're talking about what your community needs, and tribal energy is very
Hmm.
much about resources, food, that type of thing. It's about necessary social or being the like catalyst for necessary social change, maintaining high principles, because that's where this tends to get people, I don't want to say in trouble, but it can. That's where that creates that black or white thinking. Because really, the idea here in this gate is like, if you're going to come into my tribe, we have to agree that we are on the same wavelength, but we have the same standards, we have the same
Hmm.
principles because I'm inviting you in. That's what the 19 has, the sensitivity. The gate 49 says, if you're coming in, you've got to stand by this.
Hmm.
And that's where that black and white thinking, or they say divorce, can live in this channel, marriage and divorce, because there is this like, if you break trust, you're done. Like, you are persona non grata to the gate 49 if you break their trust. Because essentially, in their mind, you had a contract with them in one way or another, whether it's a actual legal contract. If they let you in, you should have understood what you were signing up for.
Hmm.
But they're also for creating harmony, sustainable harmony in there. So you can see again why that theme.
Hmm.
Gate 4, on the other hand, is a totally different story. So gate 4 is up in the head center. I mean, the
Hmm.
ajna center, sorry. It is, as I said, the gate of answers. It's also in the I Ching known as youthful folly. And in quantum, she calls it possibility. This shadow frequency says it all. It's familiar across the board. The shadow frequency here is doubt, mental uncertainty, anxiety. Yes, hello, sign me up. I do have this gate defined. And then the gift frequency is understanding, clarity, through logical investigation. Themes there are, as I just kind of suggested, mental awareness applied to questions, formulating logical solutions. We always talk about this start of the logical circuitry there is like the 63 poses the question and the
Mhm.
4 wants to right away just rush in with it, what it thinks the answer is. It's always
Mhm.
looking for the answer. It wants to provide the answer. It doesn't have the answer yet because that moves down and through, but it's like that's why they call youthful folly is like when you think about the youth, they always think they know the answer. They don't have the experience yet. They don't have all the pieces in place, but they're like,
Mhm.
well, we'll just do this. It's like, oh, okay. Doesn't always work.
Mhm. I have for
Uh-huh.
both the sun and earth, I have the other side of the channel, so
Oh, yeah, that's true.
mhm.
And I don't, I don't have 49 no, but a lot of people do. Uh, and there's also a lot of pattern recognition and problem solving. So how these the programming partners here, how these can work together is creating this connection between principled ideas, revolution, and logical solution finding. And so gate 49 might be able to recognize what needs to change, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's revolutionary ideas. And gate 4 can provide the framework for, or the mental framework for implementing that change effectively. So during this time, we are experiencing this play between knowing what's right and figuring out how to manifest it practically. Hello, we could use that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if you think about the people that I'm particularly thinking about, obviously Lakeland and Hunter, I could see
Mhm.
that about both of them. I think they both have very much like Lakeland more than anybody. They're not adverse to hearing ideas, they're not adverse to open conversations, but I think at the offset of anything, they have their own like set way of like principles of how they see things and like right and wrong. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
Uh, it's hard for me because I like examples of things, so it's a little harder
Mm,
for me to see in them.
mm.
But I mean,
Well, I think at Lakeland it stands out for me in particular, with this being her son Gate, because she has the full channel as well,
mhm.
is she very much, and it's her generation. I mean, you think about people born under this gate are also Aquarius, which is also very much about revolution,
Is Aquarius the
humanity.
fighter?
No, that's Aries. But
Aries.
Aquarius is
Mhm.
the era that we're moving into, which is kind of this revolutionary energy. It's like the power of the individual and it's the value of the individual and
Mhm.
seeing things in new and different ways and technology and forward progress and all this stuff. So that's there. You can see that connection there with that. It's probably why this gate is placed in the wheel
Mhm.
on the mandala this time of year. It
It's
falls in
almost
line
like
with
it's
that.
very, very purposeful.
It's almost like a voice told him where to put gate 49 on the wheel.
Mhm.
But this is what happens when you talk about it and you start looking about it. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, that makes
Uh-huh.
sense. There's a new connection.
There it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So during this time with those themes in mind, gate 49, there could be some of the more unbalanced aspects to it, which I hate to say we're always focusing on the bad, but I mean, usually that's what people are looking for anyhow. They're like, why do I feel this way?
Mhm.
Oh, what can I do about it?
Mhm.
Nobody's going around coming to me wanting to know about themselves in human design because they feel great
They
all the
Yeah,
time and
they've got it all figured out.
their life just works perfectly. Please tell me more. No, those people are just doing it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Good for them. We could all be that way.
Mhm.
But really, we recognize where we're struggling. So you might be
Mhm.
struggling with being a little inflexible in your principles. it's good to have principles, but like I said, it's also good to adapt and change. Like, I
Mhm.
think you should always review your beliefs, what you're
Mhm.
standing for, what you're willing to die on a hill for. Review that every now and then and be like, do I
Mhm.
really need to die on that hill? Or am I
Yeah.
just creating problems for myself?
I gotta work
Um,
on that.
Everybody does. There might be, you might feel struggle or not struggle, you might feel a little bit urge to maybe force some change that maybe is not ready to come. Remember, this is also an emotional energy
Mhm.
as well. It's meaning it is affected
Mhm.
by emotional wave. There could be a lot of energy, emotional energy around fear of being rejected
Mhm.
for basically things that you feel like you can't change about yourself, which is your principles and your values. It's hard to make those connections sometimes with people because you don't want to give that up.
Mhm.
There could be a lot of anxiety around your own personal tribe, community, just paying attention to some of those things. This is where I listen later and I'm like, I guess that makes sense, but while I'm talking, it makes no sense. So, in order to kind of ease that energy around that gate, really kind of actively trying to practice compassion towards people who maybe don't feel the same way as you or think the same as you do,
Mhm.
maybe questioning not only their viewpoints, but your own viewpoints, maybe, which is the problem we have in this, our society right now, is not being able to open yourself up to the possibility of just because they don't agree with you, they might have certain viewpoints that, are valid and that
Mhm.
you don't need to cut someone out of your life because they don't fit every single piece of things you believe. It's called compassion.
Mhm.
Um, so again, that is kind of a prevalent energy that's going to be a lot of people like feeling like their way is the principle, the right way, how we need to move forward. Just keep an open mind if you can. And then also with that gate 4 energy, there's going to be more anxiety, more doubt around these mental pressure to find the answers of the best way to move forward or to how to create more sustainable relationships, a lot of stuff like that. And again, with this gate 4 being gate of answers and youthful folly, understanding that all the pressure that there might be around the need to find an answer to a problem, find a solution, to maybe not run with the first idea, just kind of allow it to settle. There's again the whole theme around timing,
Mhm.
trusting that answers will emerge when they're needed. Yeah. Notice if maybe you're just creating a lot of extra mental energy that you don't need to. Maybe go outside, go for a walk. It's always my
Mhm.
go-to. Trying to dissipate that
Mhm.
energy is to just like, I mean, it's great to wanna come up with the answers, but it's not always, especially if you don't have that whole channel defined, you're not really supposed to have all the answers. So, just be comfortable with not knowing all the time. So, in this example, you could look at it maybe in your work organization or something at work that there might be a, it doesn't have to be during this time. This is just an example of how these energies could play out, especially if you have them in
Mhm.
your chart, that you can probably identify where something definitely needs to change in your workplace culture or something like that. And you do have the ideas of how to implement that, but of course also take into account your type and strategy, whether people are asking you or you've been invited to share. But really, when it comes down to how you would put that into practice, optimizing these gates, is that you can clearly show the path, you can see the path, you can share the ideas of what you have that can create this change. You can be that catalyst for change. Your ideas can help revolutionize the process, but really think about the strength of that gate 4 in the having the answers, but it's also logical. So think about a logical process to me is usually a step by step by step process. So
Mhm.
putting it in, leaning into that logical strengths that you have there of not only having the vision, but also showing the steps of how you could get there. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
That's where your strength's going to be. So as we move through this time and we're thinking about these gates working together, again, like just what I said, how can your logical ideas kind of help support the change that you think may need to happen, either in your
Mm-hmm.
community, your workplace, or even the world?
Mm-hmm.
Contemplate that. Practicing or thinking about how you can balance your idealism with your practical implementation, how to like take big ideas, but really put them into practice. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are some of the things you can focus on thinking about for this time, because really the overall synergy of these gates working together, because remember they're not connected in any way
Mm-hmm.
other than opposition tension, is the balance between big ideas and actually real world application
Mm-hmm.
is what you're looking at there. So finding that balance. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On the 12th. Sorry. I'm so sorry. The sun's moving into gate 30, which is the gate of feelings, and the earth's going to move into gate 29, perseverance. And so gate 30 is a solar plexus gate, again, more emotional
Mm-hmm.
energy. This is a fiery one. It's actually called in the I Ching the clinging fire.
Ooh.
Quantum, she calls it passion, with the
Mm.
shadow frequency of desire, which is it says overwhelming feelings and attachments. Desire, maybe not in a good way, like being too attached.
Little
And
obsessive desire.
yeah, and the gift frequency of magnetism,
Oh.
which is turning your desire into creative power, because that's really what this gate 30 is about, is emotional energy that starts in the 31 and 41 in the root, creating the vision of something you want to experience, and then this is that emotional energy behind that energy of like, this is what I want to go after, this is what I want to feel, this is what I want to create. Passion, desire, all those things. So there is a lot of intense emotions around that,
Mm-hmm.
and a craving for new experiences and for inspiration. And it's a very passionate, fiery energy. And Karen Curry Parker always said that if you have this gate activated in your chart, it kind of amplifies everything in your chart. It's a going bigger kind of gate. It has a lot of energy in it, but it's here to help bring also, since it's a solar plexus gate, it's about finding clarity through feeling and experience as well. And
Mm-hmm.
then gate 29 is in the sacral center. And this is also known as the abysmal in the I Ching. And in quantum, she calls it devotion. I do have this gate, and that's the gate that I always say it's always wanting to say yes. It says perseverance is a sacral gate,
Mm-hmm.
and it says yes even when it's not getting a sacral response. Yes, it will just, well, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. I can do
It's a real yes man, uh,
that.
Kate.
Yeah, yeah. So it says the shadow frequency is more of a half-heartedness, little scattered commitments,
Mm.
and gift frequency is more about devotion, sustained dedication. Yes, to what matters. And so, again, there's themes, obviously. What I just said, commitment to growth and discovery. It's in the channel of discovery. And it's the energy for a sustained effort towards a goal, something that you want. So you can see already how these two
Mm-hmm.
are always going to pair together, how they could create a lot of intensity, I
Mm-hmm.
think, because
Yeah.
you've got the passion and then you've got the sacral energy behind it. So you've got the
Mm-hmm.
emotion and you've got the drive that you
Mm-hmm.
could get there. So you I think, what would you think would be something to consider for sure during this transit with that energy, or if you have those energies?
That you're going in the right, going with the right thing.
Yeah, it's like slow you. That's why I just hear slow your roll.
That's
Slow
why. That's why even though it's the what is it? The 30 is such this powerful gate. It's in the
hmm
solar plexus, so you have to have that beat. You have to take a minute.
Yeah, clarity
Yeah.
over
Hmm.
time.
Funny
Yeah,
enough,
saying yes.
I again have the other side of both of these gates.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I have both these gates. I believe they're my north and south node.
Oh,
Yeah. Mhm.
oh, fun.
I actually think I can't believe I don't know my chart right now. I know it's the south, north and south nodes. I think my north node is in 30, south node is in 29. Um anyways, so as we just said, there's this powerful alliance created between these
Mhm,
gates, between emotional energy, emotional desire, and sustained energy, sustained commitment. And so, as you said, make sure you're committing to the right things because
mhm,
there is that energy that's really going to be driving you more about experience and what you want to feel that because even as that gate 30 continues up that circuitry 35 and 36 there is still this tendency to jump into things. It's just for the experience. There's a lot of restlessness in that energy of like just wanting to feel is what's
mhm,
there. But that's a really good thing to have when you're also working towards a commitment or there's something that you really want to build, which is what you can do with that sacral energy of really having that energy to stick with that commitment. So they're
mhm.
there together. You can I think it's more clearly how these two work together than
Yeah.
than others. But during this time, we could be experiencing more of these lower shadow frequency kind of vibrations. Not necessarily, but this is how you'll notice if,
Mhm.
what you're feeling. That there could be a lot of emotional intensity during this time. Let's look at when it also is occurring. What is
Oh,
on the
shit.
14th? Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Don't propose on Valentine's Day unless you really mean it. Because that gate 29 has to see things through to the end.
Stick to
So,
itedness.
so don't get carried away from by the passion and try to enter into any commitments you're not ready for because it may not work out. But anyways, so you kind of get the theme there of what's going on with these two gates, right?
Mhm,
And so pay attention to that. Be a little more emotionally aware of not jumping into things too quickly, as we just
mhm,
said, because it could come back to bite you in the ass, or you just won't have the experience that you're hoping for. And really, since it's gate 30, there's not a even though there's the intensity to want to get into things, as you said, this is not a gate that is supposed to get into action right away.
mhm.
It needs some time. It's a slow burn.
And then it,
uh,
like, really ignites.
Yeah, right. Same with gate 29. Imbalance really is just saying yes to things that you know don't feel right for you. Things you're not necessarily that committed to, but you just tend to like default say yes to things. Pay attention if you're doing that, if you find yourself doing that, because it's the easiest way to burn yourself out is to commit to things that you don't really want to commit to, but the energy and the
Yeah,
pressure might be there, but don't just be very
just don't.
mindful of it, whether you're a generator or should say sacral type or not. And so I think we've kind of I don't think we need to go to too much depth on this one. I think we understand this one pretty
Yeah,
good.
no, this one's they're pretty clear.
So during this time, I know we pretty much wrapped it up, but just some things to consider. Ask yourself really, are your deepest desires, or even not so deep, but the desires you hold right now, are they truly aligned with your own personal highest good? How can you feel deeply without being completely consumed by your desires? Are you mistaking intensity for clarity? Because that's what can happen
Mm,
is like it feels so strongly that you want to like shiny object go off in that direction, which I can definitely relate to.
mhm,
Is that really the best? Are you going to feel that way tomorrow? Maybe, as you said, take that beat. Are there things that you want to do and you feel intensely about it, but maybe do they need a little more time for those ideas and those plans to mature? And really, are you saying yes to things you don't need to say yes to just out of obligation instead of alignment? And really, how can you protect and sustain your energy for what matters most so that when you have that go to really, when you're in alignment, that you are
mhm,
like ready to go and commit? So,
mhm,
just some things to think about during that time. So,
mhm,
moving
mhm.
on. the 18th of February. We are moving
Mhm.
into the sun in gate 55, the spirit, and the earth in gate 59, which in traditional human design calls it sexuality. I refer to it as intimacy because I think sexuality, whereas I understand what it's talking about, also kind of narrows the meaning a little bit.
Mhm.
Intimacy, I feel, is a better word for this gate. And so, gate 55, the sun gate, is in the solar plexus. Noticing a theme here?
Mhm. Mhm.
The traditional human design as name, as I said, sorry, is spirit. I Ching calls it abundance. In quantum human design, she calls it faith.
Mm.
There is shadow frequency of melancholy, which is getting lost in those emotional waves. There is a lot of that 3950, especially that channel is called emoting. A lot of emotional energy here. And the gift frequency of freedom. The key themes, obviously, in this gate are around emotional awareness and spirit consciousness, around cycles of abundance and emptiness. They say this is kind of the half empty, half full kind of gate. Like
Mm.
it depends on how you look at it. It's honoring that creative power in that low state, in that melancholy state, and honoring your own emotional rhythms and your own mood because the 3955 and then it moves up circuitry from the 2212 up to the throat is individual circuitry. So the biggest piece of advice in that circuitry is to not act or to not speak, not create, not do anything that you do not, if you're not in the mood for it. It's going against your own emotional nature.
Mhm.
And there's also a lot of creativity in this circuitry and in this energy. And it makes sense because we're moving towards this understanding and awareness of our emotional energy being our source of creation. Even as you look at like how we actually manifest things, it's not by just saying something over and over and over and over again in your head. If you don't feel it, if you don't have the
Mhm.
feeling of what you want, chances are it's not going to come your way. So that's a lot of the key themes in this gate is understanding that your abundant nature is tied to how you feel and understanding that there's going to be ebbs and flows, there's going to be feast and famine, there's going to be the other side is how I like when I think about feast and famine. It's like there's the nature of things is to move, I think, through these cycles from one to the other. It's like you don't know what feeling really good feels like if you haven't felt really low. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You don't know what
Mhm.
prosperity is if you haven't felt it lacking, those kind of things. These are kind of the feelings I get around this gate. And then gate 59 is in the sacral center, it's tribal energy, connects to gate 6. And the I Ching calls it dispersion and quantum, she calls it sustainability. The shadow frequency here in the gene keys is dispersion, which is, he calls it like scattered intimate connections, not really going that deep. The gift
Mhm.
frequency is intimacy, authentic bonding for creation. And so the themes here in this gate, this is one of those gates that has that aura breaking energy to it because it's meant to, you're going to think about it in almost literal terms, penetrating into the other. It's like it has the ability to break down barriers
Mhm.
to not force creation, to make
Forge
creation,
connection.
yeah, forge connections for creation. So if you think about it's tribal energy, and that's where that channel is like where war and peace is as well. And so
Yin and
it can
yang.
create, yeah, it can create intimacy fairly quickly because its aim is to know where's the most fertile ground, basically,
Mhm.
is whether that's in an actual like creating children or in creating partnerships for like business and growth. It's like these are people that can instantly help people feel at ease and can go deep fast, right?
Mhm.
to create that intimacy and that trust and create those connections. There's a lot of tribal energy here. As I said, it's tribal circuitry, it's part of the defense circuit. A lot of sensitivity and sense of warmth with these people because they could make you feel cozy fast.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of creative collaboration. And it's really interesting how these gates work as programming partners because it's this partnership between emotional, spiritual awareness and intimate bonding,
Mm.
creating emotional depth and authenticity for those meaningful connections. So during that transit, there is going to be a lot of uh, that interplay between honoring your own emotional truth and needs and creating genuine intimacy with others because there is that
Mhm.
balance between the two. I do have this gate. I have this pairing on my design side.
Mhm.
Uh, design sun is in 59, Earth's in 55, but then also my north nodes on the design side is 55 and my south node is 59.
Mm.
This energy is strong within me. Something I'm still learning about. Like I said, it's
Mhm.
on the design side. I'm not always aware of it.
Mhm.
But it's also your dad's sun and earth because his birthday's on the 19th of February.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm. So, what you may be feeling this around this time, there might be a lot of emotional energy, as we said. There may be, you may not just be in the new mood for it and feel like you're being forced to perform, create, or just go do anything. You might not want to go do it, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Just honor those, the way the moods that you're feeling is going to be very important this time to not try to just like push through it and push past it, but to really honor how you're feeling at this time and not feel like you have to really explain or justify how you're feeling, which has been the biggest revelation for
Mhm.
me with human design and emotional energy and understanding it in this way is if you're an emotional being, you just have moods. You just do. And you don't know why you have them. It's hard to explain them. And that's probably why you get moody and you just feel like withdrawing because you can't really explain it anyhow. So you just kind of like, leave me alone. There may be some hibernating. I may be one of them. I don't know. Um, but, really, like I said, just kind of honor that. Might feel more creative at this time, which would be great. Maybe dig into that. Doesn't mean you have to create a masterpiece. Maybe pull out some colored pencils, markers, doodle a little. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sing a little bit more, you know try something different, just really honor that at that time. And then at the same time, maybe shut everybody out.
Again, there's that push and pull.
You might feel because of this time, you may also, there's a lot of vulnerability and fear of vulnerability in gate
Mm.
59. um there's a lot of, there can be, not a lot of, there is maybe possibility of sensitivity around others as well. You may be feeling some confusion in your relationships at this time. These are just some of these unbalanced energies around gate 59.
Mhm.
So, really just use your sensitivity to kind of guide you during this time. I think the main thing, I don't think we really need to focus too much on the 59 aspect. I think because I think that emotional energy will really have more of an impact at this time. So, just find that balance during that time if you feel that way between honoring your own personal emotional state, but also try not to shut out everybody around you and
Mhm.
keep them at bay. Maybe let people in a little bit, share your vulnerability of how you may be feeling,
Mm.
especially if you have
Even
these
just let one
gates.
in.
Yeah. But generally, for around this time, really questioning and contemplating, journaling. Do you, if you are emotionally defined, do you tend to honor your emotional rhythms? Are you tending to just push past it? Are you able to communicate your needs during these emotional times of your need for space? Are you also with that gate for 59? Think about how you can create more authentic connections in your life if you're not going deep enough with people. because I can certainly attest to the fear of vulnerability. And sometimes you can just kind of keep yourself held back because you don't really want to um, let people in that
Mhm.
much. Um, is something I still work with because, like I said, this is in my chart to find what's on the unconscious side. I don't always realize I'm doing it, but
Mhm.
I've heard I've heard I'm kind of hard to figure out. Your dad might have said that to me a few hundred times. I think he just said it to me yesterday. Not in an angry way, but just in a like, I can't figure you out because I don't really let him know.
And you're like, honestly, same.
Yeah. But really, just throughout this time, this transit's really just teaching us how to explore our emotional wisdom and how it can help guide us towards more authentic connections in our life. So, really just think about that theme during that time. So, lastly, on the 23rd, we move for the sun goes into gate 37, the family, and the earth is going into gate 40, aloneness.
Oh,
These two gates do form a channel. They
I
form the
have
channel.
one half.
You have the 40 or the 37?
37.
37. Yes. So that is in the solar plexus.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's called the family or friendship. Sorry. In traditional, it's called friendship. In the I Ching, it's called the family. I said that wrong. Quantum human design, she calls it peace. Shadow frequency is weakness or a fear of inadequacy in maintaining
Mm.
relationships. Gift frequency is equality, authentic uh, connections through fairness, is what he's calling equality. It's true.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So gate 37, again, another solar plexus gate. So there's emotional energy, but it's really the ability to nurture and sustain your community. There's themes of bargaining and fair distribution of resources, creating emotional bonds through community and shared experiences, theme of inclusive leadership and a balance between giving and receiving. Because in gate 40, then on the other side of that channel, so it's a programming partner and it's a channel. Okay.
Mhm.
It's located in the will center, ego center. The I Ching, it's called deliverance. Quantum human design, she calls it restoration. There's the shadow frequency of exhaustion,
Mhm.
depletion through overcommitment, which makes sense. It's in the will center.
Mhm.
Gift frequency of resolve or finding strength through healthy boundaries. And
Mm.
that's a big theme in this channel. In this gate in particular, there is a need for solitude to maintain your energy.
Mm.
That's the aloneness part of it, is you need to withdraw at times. If you think it's a will center gate, and
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
energy that depletes, right?
Yep.
It has to
It's
be
got to be replenished.
restored.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yep. But there's also a lot of energy around strong work ethic, dedication, clear agreements in the relationships, and a balance between service and self care. And it's very evident in this channel that the main theme is these people really want to guide and take care of their community, but they also want to feel that they are taken care of as well. So, as much as they give to the community, they want to feel also that the community has their back when they need it, because
Mhm.
they need to withdraw that energy at times in order to be able to then serve their community more effectively,
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
that makes sense. And so, it's a very clear relationship between these gates. It's not much of a guess because they actually work together in
Mhm.
a channel.
Yes. It does help the understanding.
Yeah. So if this energy is feeling a little off, you can feel a little overwhelmed by all your social obligations, family, community, like all the people in gate 37 I'm talking about that are kind of at you. You could be overextending yourself to keep people happy. You're afraid of disappointing others. I mean, hello. So, again, working with your boundaries, learning when to say no with love, like, hey, I want to help you, but I've got to understand what I can give and what I can't give.
Mhm.
Um, really notice when you're going past those boundaries where you should be giving, if you're depleting yourself. And then also with that gate 40 energy, there could be a tendency to want to isolate and withdraw, not asking for support when you need it, overworking yourself, burnout. Pretty clear in my mind. I think the themes in this gate, and so, or I
Mhm.
mean, in this channel and these gates. So, some pointers there with that gate 40 is to make sure that you have scheduled alone time. Make sure you're communicating your needs, creating rhythms that work for you, maintaining those boundaries of when you can and when you can't give, and understanding this is a big one that rest can also be productive. It has a purpose.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, it does.
Gotta
Quite
put
nice.
on gotta put on your oxygen mask. Yeah. You can't help everybody else if you're dead. So you've killed yourself trying to help everybody.
Mhm.
I think we're pretty clear on that one. So yeah. So really you can see February, a lot of emotional energy happening there.
Mhm.
Lots of themes
It is the
around,
month of love,
yeah. But let's make sure you're taking care of yourself as well.
self-love.
And but also we're now in the quarter of initiation here, and so it's also a time of year where it is getting clear on the inner world and how you're feeling and how you want to move forward and what kind of world and relationship and communities you want to build. So it is tapping in strongly to that emotional energy throughout this month, and so just take care of yourself and others
Mhm.
out there, and don't let it get the best of you. We'll get to the other side eventually. So
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
now I know we had been slacking on your favorite portion of the podcast. Maybe not your favorite portion, but a favorite portion. So it's the end of the episode. You know what time that is, Haley. What does that mean? What's it time for?
The incarnation cross of the week.
Oh, it's been a while.
I know.
It's been a while. Sorry you had that.
I like halfway through the word incarnation, I questioned myself on is this how I do it? There it goes.
Yes, the incarnation across the week. So I did decide to go with one of the gates for this month.
Crosses.
First of all, though, mention if you've never listened before, we are restarting for this year our episode segment here for the incarnation cross the week because there are 192 incarnation crosses in the human design system,
Mhm.
and we all have one. It consists of the sun and earth gates on both the personality and the design side of your chart,
Mhm.
and it really encapsulates kind of your life theme because these are your sun and earth energies, and as we've been really talking about how much these energies are a part of your expression in the world, these gates, when they work together as programming partners as well, create this overarching theme in your life. So
Mhm.
this week it's the left angle cross of migration.
Mhm.
So it's the sun on the personality side in gate 37, which we just talked about, gate of friendship. Gate 40 is in the earth, gate of aloneness. On the design side, on the other side of the chart, gate 5 is the sun gate, which is fixed rhythms or consistency. And then in the earth is gate 15, the gate of extremes,
So we
which is
have
more about
friendship,
varied rhythms. Yeah, go ahead.
aloneness, consistency, and I didn't get the last one.
Extremes.
Extremes.
And so I would like to point out, I don't know if you noticed that, well, you probably didn't notice, but we did just talk about 37 and 40 being a channel,
Uh-huh.
but 5 and 15 are also a channel. It's from the
Mm.
sacral to the G. So
Mhm.
if you have this cross, that means that those energies are always activated. You have both of those channels. And so that means that they call this a heavy lifting cross, meaning this is energy is really going to be rather, I believe, prominent in your personality, your expression.
Mhm.
Whether or
Mhm.
not you see it, people around you may feel it. So If you were born under the left angle cross of migration, you are a natural community builder, carrying the profound gift of knowing how to build and transform collective spaces. Your energy flows with an innate wisdom about when to establish roots and when to initiate change, understanding deeply that true community strength begins with honoring individual self worth. Like a master gardener who intimately knows both when to cultivate and when to let go, you recognize the perfect timing for growth and renewal in ways that bring people together with purpose and meaning. Your unique purpose extends beyond creating physical communities. You're here to establish sustainable relationships and healthy agreements that honor both individual needs and collective well being. You understand that true sustainability comes from balancing self care with contribution, showing others through your gentle example how personal healing and community growth are beautifully interconnected. When you trust your own natural rhythms of engagement and release, you create sacred spaces where authentic connection flourishes and where everyone's dignity and worth are celebrated.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
It's a good one.
That's it.
They're all good, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're listening, you may have this. Happy birthday. And that's it for now. So, last words, just a reminder, check out the show notes. You can find all the links on how you can work with me, and especially pay attention to the invitation to join my Substack newsletter, where if you do, you will get directly to your inbox every week these podcast episodes delivered to you. And coming soon, pay attention to the Substack, because we have a new, really, community building over there. If you subscribe, there's free subscription where you'll get the updates, the transit updates, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But now on the paid subscription level, we are introducing some monthly calls where you can get on a live Zoom call with me. Maybe Haley's there too. I'm not sure if she will always make it. Where we can discuss some of these things we talked about this month on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So bring your questions, but we'll try to have it themed out. This February is going to be the first one, so I don't have the exact day yet. So go check out the Substack for those updates, and I hope you'll join us over there. It would be really fun to get online with y'all, person to person, and see your faces and bring your questions about your own human design or someone else in particular. We're not really sure exactly what the format's going to look like yet, but we're going to give it a go, and hopefully you guys can help create that with us. So we'd love to see you there. All right, so we'll wrap it up, and Haley, stay warm. Enjoy your weekend. And same for everybody else out there listening. Enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your week. And until next time, bye for now.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.